their Soviet counterparts on the ice in what would eventually be known as the Miracle on Ice. This game, which took place during the 13th Winter Olympic Games in Lake Placid, New York, was deemed a miracle because the Soviets had 4 gold medals from their previous years dominating these games. To their chagrin, a squad of young Americans defeated them 4-3 and then went on to win hockey gold 2 days later. The story makes me wonder, what is a miracle? The US team's defeat of the Soviets was a product of hard work, dedication, and endurance. But was that a miracle? Miracles occur in an abyss when we're swimming in tohu and vohu, surrounded by darkness, overwhelmed by a sense of desperation, and all of a sudden, something not of our volition creates an opening, draws us out, and rescues us. The Oxford Dictionary defines a miracle as a surprising and welcome event that is not explicable by natural or scientific laws, and is therefore considered to be the work of divine agency. For so long, I thought the only miracle in this week's parshah was the miraculous save on the part of God for a bumbling, groaning, down and out team, the Israelites, a group who, at many points in time, expresses a desire to return to Egypt, preferring their known captors over the unknown of the wilderness and potential freedom. God's redemption is nothing short of a miracle. But there's another miracle, and that's when Moses breaks into song and Miriam follows with her chanting, dancing, and timbrel. After the Israelites' harrowing escape, I imagine them feeling excited and grateful, yet absolutely socked in the gut. Physically and psychologically, I can only imagine how exhausted and bewildered the Israelites are feeling about the miraculous save on the part of God after they finally crossed the sea. The Israelites have been rescued, but it's almost like they got off on a technicality. They didn't fight off the Egyptians. God stepped in on their behalf because I don't think they would have been able to do it on their own. And by the time they make it to the other side, they're practically puddles of sweat, panting on the desert floor. And then they find it within themselves to rejoice. And that, to me, is the miracle, because they've just gone through such an emotional set of events. They pause, catch their breaths before taking their first steps of a 40-year journey, and they fill that gap created from their collective inhale with chanting, dancing, and song. More than half of Exodus 15 is music. After Moses' song, Miriam pulls out a timbrel from nowhere. There's no mention of a pillar of cloud or a pillar of fire moving about, or God slipping Miriam a timbrel like a grandparent giving their grandchild a $20 bill. The timbrel's appearance is not explained, and Moses and Miriam's abilities to chant and dance after what they've just experienced are miraculous. Rashi attempts to explain the origin of Miriam's timbrel, while the majority of medieval commentators are more concerned with why Miriam is referred to as prophetess, Aaron's sister. In Exodus 15:20, Rashi believes that the Israelite women were so confident that God would perform a miracle for them that they prepared timbrels before leaving Egypt. I admire his optimism, and while this attempts to address where the instruments came from, it fails to explain just how to summon song after experiencing such a whirlwind of events. The ability to translate pain and chaos into music, is a miracle. Our classmate, Sarah Anderson, a fourth-year cantorial student on the New York campus, gave a beautiful sermon at Temple Emmanuel last September for Parshah Ha'azinu. It was about the connection between music, behavioral and mental health, and Judaism. She explains that Moses may have had difficulty communicating, but when he did, he spoke through poetry and song. She says, for us as Jews, different moods and modes each encapsulate where we are in our day, our week, and our Jewish calendar. Most of our worship service and our liturgy is attached to music and chant. We rarely read. We sing. Even the deaf and hearing impaired can sense the stimulation from musical notes. The ricochet of the notes, no matter where they fall on the musical scale, bind deeply with emotion and act as carrier agents in the music's movement through us. To momentarily disassociate and let go just enough of our awareness or self-consciousness and where we fall in the tohu and vohu allows us to radically express our voices and communicate our emotions. What a miracle of leadership the act of summoning song at tumultuous times can be. And, oh, so uniquely human. In fact, some of the aspects of our humanity that might be deemed weaknesses can also be interpreted as strengths, especially our fragility. In fact, there's a midrash in Shemot Rabbah 23:8 that states that the angels were eager to sing to God after the Israelites emerged from the sea. The angels clamored to be the first to sing, but God instructed them to wait. God explained that because the Israelites were human, they must have the first opportunity to sing before they died, whereas the angels would have all the time in the world to rejoice. But it can be so hard to summon song after experiencing that narrow place. And oh, how real that narrow place metaphor is now. There were times before coronavirus when I thought I hit my lowest low, and I wouldn't have been able to fathom being rendered lower. This worsening pandemic, fears of an increasingly polarized country, and the sense of complete hopelessness with which I am often overcome are all overwhelming. And they make me keenly aware of my humanity and just how much I can handle. I read about Miriam and Moses and their capacities in this moment to reflect on the previous events, pause, and dig for a response. And what do? They summon song. Yes, they were redeemed and were entitled to celebrate the moment. But perhaps they looked ahead and thought, well, a lot can happen in 40 years. No expectations. I imagine them asking what I often ask myself these days. How much more can I take? While we modern Jews have the benefit of hindsight, we can also use this story as inspiration for how to have a uniquely human reaction to chaos and emotion. We are not angels, we're human. While our humanity can sometimes feel like a detriment, especially when we are experiencing pain and in the throes of the tumult, that same humanity enables us to feel very deeply and translate pain and turmoil into song in a way that even the angels cannot. Ibn Ezra says that Moses' well-known description of God's wonder, encapsulated in the words of the Michamocha, words that are also found in this parsha, mean a very human acknowledgement of the fact that we will inevitably fall short of any praises for God that we attempt to sing. And nevertheless, we still do it. Redemption is a miracle, and so too is how we react and translate our experiences to communicate what is happening in our hearts. May we not let the fear of falling short in our expression prevent us from communicating, especially when we are struggling. And may we have the strength and courage to sing when we are vulnerable and open our hearts in that song. May music magnify the space between what is immediately in front of us and that which lies far beyond, so that our next first steps can be made with the confidence in knowing that these sorts of miracles are not only possible, but necessary.